You mentioned one-way decisions, and I can't let you go without talking about the topic of the week in Dallas, because 16, 17 years ago, Jerry Jones decided there was one way he was going to build his stadium, with the big glass wall facing the setting sun in the west, unlike any other football stadium that's ever been built, where the sun goes over the grandstands, not over the end zones. Let's hear a little bit from Travis Kelce yesterday, Chiefs tight end, who's played some games at AT&T Stadium and has dealt with the sun that we saw CeeDee Lamb deal with on Sunday. Here's Kelce.
Biggest takeaways from the game, Jerry Jones is still at war with the sun. I'm not going to lie. Playing in that stadium, I've had that problem before. That glare coming through that end zone in the afternoon is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's like the glass makes it like spread more.
Right.
It's like the sun is bigger and brighter than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it, but obviously you try not to let those kind of things be an excuse. But holy shit, and that I mean, I get it. I understand where he's coming from here.
A lot of bleeping going on in that clip, but, you know, Jerry's position is we've known where he just whatever word salad that he gave on Sunday. But the bottom line is you got to coach around the reality that there's going to be a portion of the game where the sun is more of a problem that would be later in the game. Just help me understand how you, when you coach the Cowboys, factored that into your decision. Do we defer? Do we take the ball? Which end do we take? When are we going to be dealing with the sun? When are they going to be dealing with the sun? How much does that complicate your overall management of a game?
Well, let's start with this. That is a one-way decision because they're not going to turn and rotate the field. So that ain't happening. You know, there was this great guy named Bruce Mays, who was an operations guy for us, who would show you pictures every week about where the sun is. And so he'd come into my office and say, hey, at 3:25, when we go out, here's where the sun's going to be. And then 3:45 at 4 o'clock. And it wasn't only for like what happened last week, it was last year. And this is where the sun is, and understanding we're playing on November 11th. So this is where the sun's going to be on, you know, on and on and on. So we had a lot of information that way. You know, the basic idea is you want to defer. You want to give them the ball so you can have the decision to go the direction you want to go. But the trickiest part of this thing is everyone says, oh, you want to make sure your receivers aren't looking into the sun. Okay. So you understand where the sun's going to be. You understand that the receivers are the most important people to not look into the sun. But then your quarterback is looking into the sun, just so you know that. So the quarterback has this sunshine in his face that he's dealing with. But we get that. But oftentimes what happens is when it flips around and one of your defensive players is looking into the sun and he has an opportunity to intercept a pass, and then that becomes a factor too. And we have had all of that. You know, at different times, our receivers had a hard time catching a ball because it was right into the sun. And other times, our defensive player, Sean Lee, dropped an interception once because he couldn't see. So this idea that because you understand it and you're going to figure it out perfectly as a coach, still you can't control all of the factors. If you give your receivers the break, which you should, the quarterback's going to look in it and your defensive players are going to look in it. And then it changes throughout the game. So at certain points, you aren't in control of it anymore. You're going in a direction that you don't want to go into, and maybe that impacts the game. But as best you can, you find a way to overcome it, and you just go forward. I got a good story for you. My first year coaching was in Miami. And I was coaching for Nick Saban. I was coaching the quarterbacks. And at the old Dolphin Stadium, there was obviously a ton of sunshine, but oftentimes, depending on when you played, it would be shade and shade and shade, and the sun would gradually eliminate over the course of the game. And so it was doing that, and we got to the portion of the game where about 98% of the field was shaded. And the far corner of the end zone, about a 5x5 box, was sunshine. And we got down in there close, and we had a guy named Chris Chambers who was amazing going up for fade routes down around the end zone. And we throw a fade to Chris, in that corner of the end zone. And he goes up, and clearly he looks and can't really find the ball, and it goes incomplete. And I was sitting next to Nick Saban as we were reviewing the tape, and he kind of looks at me and says, like 95% of the field is shaded, and we choose the one area where we throw the fade into the sun. Like, couldn't we do it to the other side? Like, yeah, Coach, you're probably right. So anyway, there's been a sun field for a long time. You in West Virginia playing Little League, you had to deal with the sun field. So that's just one of the things the Cowboys have to deal with right now.
Well, but they embraced it. Jerry wanted it. He wanted to have that look, and it does look great. It looks spectacular, as long as you don't have to factor that into trying to do your job as a football player on the football field like CeeDee Lamb had to do on. And you can just see that sunspot moves throughout the game. That's the thing. And where it becomes an advantage, if it even is one, because Jerry insists it's a home field advantage. It's an advantage because if you do it enough, you develop the systems for, like you said, there's a guy who is in charge of figuring out where the sun's going to be, and you factor it into your planning, and your opponent's only in there, once every few years, your division rivals once a year. Maybe they don't have the same body of strategy available to them to deal with it, but it would be better for everyone if it just was like we saw. I saw an image of a stadium recently where it was normal. The sun goes up over one side of the sideline and it goes down over the other, and that just makes life easier for everyone if that's the case. But Jerry,
I've had coaches through the years reach out to me and say, "Hey, we're coming to Dallas. We're going to play. We don't go there much. Tell me about this sun thing. What's the strategy? What do you do?" Da, 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 da. So it's certainly on people's minds. People want the right answers. And, I told them, get an ops guy and go take pictures and make sure you get it all squared away, because it can be a factor in the game, but it's not foolproof. Like I said, a lot of people can get impacted on both sides of the ball by that. But you figure it out and you go.
It adds to the entertainment of the ultimate reality show, the Sun Factor in Dallas. All right, Coach, appreciate some of your time. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday, and have a great Thursday. We'll be back with
Michael,
more PFT
you too.
Live.
Always enjoy it.
Thank you. We'll be back with more PFT Live, presented by Accenture, right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.